Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would sit down and do another video for you guys and gals. Sipping my water first. Yes, that's electrolytes in my water. Get my beautiful radio voice going and let's talk about this. All right, people need to quit saying silly stuff like, well, cavemen ate this way. They want to define cavemen, whatever species you want to call it, because it's different for every one of them. So therefore, that's how we should be eating. That's how nature intended. First of all, we need to be clear. Half the time, the people saying that literally have no clue what early humans ate. They also have no clue how our gene flow has changed. They also reference other species all the time that weren't even what we think of as humans, who were even capable of speech or who lived to be 50 years old, right? Those old ages, they all died before that. So if that is what you're referencing, first of all, it's ridiculous. Number two, that's called appeal to nature. That's a fallacy. Because something occurs in nature this way, it must be better or healthier. That is a fallacy. It's considered a logical fallacy. If you're in an argument and you say that, like in an academic debate, like in a philosophy classes or something, you're going to lose the debate. You can't use logical fallacies. Okay, that is on par with just saying the equivalent of the person you're debating with, you're ugly, therefore you're wrong. You have a funny looking nose, therefore you're scientifically incorrect. It's at that level. So these people understand that. It's not actually reality. Other thing to think about with those factors, and I'll go into the silliness of how people don't even get it right as far as what any of these groups ate. The problem is these groups didn't even live that long. So if you're talking about the diseases that kill us in the modern age, you are aware those people didn't live long enough for those diseases to accumulate, right? They're like, do you really think early man was as worried about atherosclerosis killing them at 55? Like, do you think this is a real concern? And if they were so healthy, why did they die so young? But that's the other point. We say, well, modern medicine, therefore we live longer. Yeah, so we lived long enough that we have to actually think about the damage these things cause to our bodies. They didn't, number one. But let's talk about those groups. People get it wrong, and it's hilarious. Even though I will say that largely what I often recommend people should be eating actually more closely matches Paleolithic human. But they weren't heavy meat eaters to the degree that people think they were. They ate whatever they could find. People will refer, well, early humans were super carnivores. Like it's been documented right over here. Even these Israeli archaeologists did a whole big write-up on it and showed all the data. They did, except it wasn't Homo sapien. It wasn't humans. Like if you were to see the species they were talking about, and the species is called Homo erectus, that is who they were referencing. Yes, Homo erectus were super carnivores. They ate everything in their path. They ate predominantly meat. They hunted entire areas to extinction around them to the point where it caused population bottlenecks. They ate every animal they could find. They also lived to be 30 years old. Okay? Hey, great. You want to live to the ripe old age of 30. I'm 47. I'm not cool with that. All right, number one. Number two, they weren't even human. Like if we were to put one of this species in front of you right now, we as a world would not recognize them as human beings. We would not recognize them as human beings with human rights. Not to that degree. Like their mental capacity would be low enough that they would have to be pretty much be kept somewhere. Pretty much probably confined, maybe treated well, but confined. Okay, because they were not functioning at the level that we have, like people we have with special needs who have mental special needs and lower intellects. They are not at their level. They were below that. Okay, so keep that in mind. You're not talking about what you would, and they were not capable of speech either. They couldn't even talk. The centers of their brain involving language were not developed enough to speak. So there's your context. This is a completely different species you're talking about. All right, the other thing to think about, when we have looked at Paleolithic man, what do we find? When we really get in there, we're finding that what paleo humans, which were our species, Homo sapien, but we're talking 50,000, 100,000 years ago, the remains that we're finding show they were probably closer to about 80% plant-based, about 20% animal-based diet. They ate plenty of carbohydrates. They ate lots of vegetables, fruits, lots of tubers. Tubers, root vegetables were always massive staples in their calories. So what we would think of today would be stuff like potatoes, carrots, radishes. Roots were always a major part. They ate a lot of bugs, and I'm not telling you to eat bugs. I don't want to eat bugs. I don't particularly like the idea of a cricket burger myself. But they ate oftentimes more bugs than they did you're thinking of as animal flesh. And they did eat meat as they could find it. A lot of them along the coastlines were fish heavy. If they were in other areas, of course, they ate meat and hunted. But plants were still the largest staple, and they had extremely high fiber diets. So if you want to emulate how they ate, and you're not eating 50 to 100 grams of fiber every single day or more, every day, you're not eating anything like they ate. So why are you talking about them? All right, the other factor, but just because they ate that way doesn't mean that it is ideal today. Food technology has changed, needs have changed, gene flow has changed. Us living in an agricultural era for thousands of years, guess what? Has changed our gene flow in terms of digestive enzymes, different enzymes in our bloodstream for dealing with different foods. Okay? Those things have changed even since then. Our genes have changed. It's affected our gene flow in such a way that now we as a species collectively have certain enzymes across the board, almost irrespective of your ethnic background, are higher in a lot of enzymes than those people had even back then. So you do need a context for that. Also, as things advance, we find that just because they ate that way doesn't mean that it's going to give you the best health, the best longevity, the best athletic performance, the best body composition, whatever it is that you're in pursuit of. Because again, back to the appeal to nature. Just because it occurred that way doesn't mean that it's always ideal. Now, we could argue it looked pretty decent. Eating patterns similar to how the paleo man ate usually does okay. People tend to be pretty healthy on that. Like, no argument there. But you still can't say, oh, it's absolutely ideal. Because we start looking at the way that certain cultures eat, and it is a little bit different. The ones who live the longest, the ones who have certain health markers. It's different. Okay? So again, this is an absurd argument that the way that cavemen, however you choose to define that, whatever species you're defining that as, how they ate is your template. That is a logical fallacy, and it's not based upon the available evidence. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.